Hello everybody, how are you doing? Today we are looking at novelties Music 63, originally released in April 2006, 14 years ago now. And how do things look after three very, very strong volumes indeed? Can we keep it up for a fourth? Will 2006 continue the very high standard that was set throughout 2005? Well, let's have a listen, let's go through the songs. Let's ask ourselves which ones still sound good, which ones have maybe fallen by the wayside. We start things off with a brand new voice and face, another local lass. Talked a bit last time about the Kaiser Chiefs and my own experiences in Hyde Park in Leeds. If you really want to know, and I'm not giving too much personal stuff away online, I live in a suburb of Leeds called Adel, A-D-E-L, not quite Adele, but Adele minus an E, let's say. Now, Corinne Bailey Ray kicks things off, fellow Leodian, or Loiner. I've got to say, unfortunately, I find this song a bit drab. It's nowhere near as exciting and Leeds-like as, say, the Kaiser Chiefs. It's a bit kind of bland, a bit Muzaki, really. I was just reading some biog about her. She certainly had an interesting personal life. And if you remember on my last video, I talked about the house party I had when I lived in Hyde Park. And I was just reading here that her husband was found dead in a flat in Hyde Park in December 2008. A bit before I moved here. I moved here in 2012. But it was an accidental overdose of methadone and alcohol. And that really doesn't surprise me. As I mentioned, Hyde Park. It's quite a druggy place, really. None of this is reflected in the music, which is totally bland and just nothingy, really. This is Put Your Records On. It's had a fairly respectable 20 million views, but I don't really get it, to be honest. It's kind of second rate, and I hope that's not an omen of how this album's going to go. Okay, much better, in my humble point of view, is Beep by the Pussycat Dolls featuring will.i.am. It's got some beeps on it, as the name would make you think. Not because of bad language, or sort of computer bleeps. What's the difference between a beep and a bleep? Is it bleeps or is it beeps? It's pretty good, actually. Yeah, I quite like it. will.i.am adds something, which is more than can be said for the second consecutive song with him on it, number 3, My Humps, Black Eyed Peas. Oh dearie, dearie me. This song is widely renowned as pretty much the worst song of the noughties, certainly in the top 10. And I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, it was vaguely popular at the time when it came out on kind of dance floors, but I think the lowest common denominator was that everyone was drunk when they heard it. Certainly when I DK'd it, I don't think you'd listen to it sober. What's so bad about it? It's just tuneless, crass. The lyrics are about my humps, my lovely lady lumps. Which sounds like something a 4-year-old would come up at school. Not that 4-year-olds have lovely lady lumps, but it's just incredibly infantile and juvenile and just not even hip-hop. I don't know what it is. It's just garbage, really. Oh well. Now, another band that get kind of mixed ratings from the public are Orson. Were they that bad? I don't think they're in kind of an all-time worst of list, but they certainly crop up as kind of irritating. I don't really know why. There's certainly quite a bit of music to this song. It's a proper song with proper instruments. This is No Tomorrow. And yeah, I don't have a problem with this at all. I think it's quite quirky. And it's certainly quite original. So yeah, I don't really get why this one has its detractors. But it's a pretty good song in my opinion. Okay, followed by another good song. Ordinary Boys and Boys Will Be Boys, and this was almost quite madnessy, really, with a bit more of a kind of punky edge, although Madness were fairly punky in their own way. Yep, it's Boys Will Be Boys, and yeah, it's kind of like white ska, really, indie ska, I suppose you'd describe it. Pretty good. Okay, now it's my old nemesis Leo Sayer. He's back with Thunder in My Heart again. It's actually Mech featuring Leo Sayer. It's kind of a house remix, filter house. They've kept most of the vocals intact. They've got rid of the second verse, which has the most ridiculous lyrics in it. Leo is really giving it all with his vocals. He sounds like he's even more over the top than Cisco was going on about the thong. He's absolutely kind of really singing hard. But it's all kind of invalidated by the second verse, which is missing from here. It's not in the original, where it transpires he's only met this woman that he's falling head and heels in love with. He's literally met her about a minute or two ago, and already he wants to marry her, and he wants to do this and wants to do that. I don't believe that happens. Is there such a thing as love at first sight? I think it takes more than seconds, certainly to get that as impassioned as he does. You can fancy people, you can be blown away, maybe visually and aesthetically by someone, but I don't think you get thunder in your heart after literally being 60 seconds with someone. And the reason I say that is it just invalidates the whole song for me. It just seems bogus and contrived and fake, not real. And so, yeah, he does put on a kind of, for a little guy with a big perm, he puts on a kind of full-on vocal performance. It just doesn't ring true. It all just seems a bit bogus. Okay, now Hightacker next with Say. And it's more Filter House. Have you noticed that with Filter House stuff now it's... Well, I was going to say it's gone more 80s, but then Leo says 70s, so there's still some 70s. This one's definitely 80s, though. This is Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney. They did the original. And all this is done, like all these songs, just taken one line from that, repeated it over and over again. It's not too bad. I like the original. It was an interesting collab. They fell out, Jackson and McCartney, shortly after doing it, because basically Jackson wanted to buy up all the old Beatles songs. Paul McCartney suddenly had to ask Michael Jackson's permission to sort of redo his own stuff. So yeah, say, High Tack. I'd say it's a bit better than average of this sort of stuff. I quite like it. It's very difficult to determine what makes one good or bad. It's a combination of mainly the beat and the sample, and just the kind of dynamics of the song, really, all in all. And this one's pretty good. Okay, we follow this with really inexplicable re-release. It's Dead or Alive and You Spin Me Round Like a Record. Not even a remix, just the original. Never made a Now. They only ever made one Now on Now 5 with In Too Deep, which was about the third single that they released at this time. So had this been on a Now, it would have probably been on Now 5. Just missed Now 4, I think. It was re-released simply because Pete Burns, R.I.P., was on Celebrity Big Brother. Not that I watched it, but I can't help but remember that one. Was that the same series as George Galloway purring like a cat for Rula Lenska? They all kind of blur into one, really. As for the song, it's a classic song. One of the best songs of the 80s. One of the first and best Stock Aitken Waterman productions. Absolute classic high energy. So good to have it back. Right, okay, another one that's hated and reviled and laughed at. But I had a listen, and actually it's not that bad. It's Chico, and it's Chico time. Of course it's sort of horrendous TV reality music, but at least it's not trying to be anything it's not. At least it's kind of a self-deprecating, ironic joke. So it's more like stuff like Aqua and the Fast Food Rockers, I think. It's just kind of jokey and it knows it is. That's My Goal by Shane Ward. Meh. Ugly by Sugar Babes. It's not too bad. It's quite worthy, I suppose. It's sort of one of those self-empowerment ones. Don't let anyone call you ugly, sister. Which is quite a nice message, I suppose. And that's fair enough. Okay, Simon Webb is back. And it's No Worries. Followed by... God, there's a run of bad ones here now. Will Young. Well, it's not that bad. It's so syrupy. Very syrupy album, this. Kelly Clarkson, Because of You, that's syrupy. Amazing Westlife, that's syrupy. And here's one that's semi-syrupy. It's Andy Abraham and Hang Up. Now, I believe he was on another reality show. Just when I thought we were getting past all that, there seems to be a whole new influx of them. This one's kind of a bit above average in a kind of Lamar kind of way. It's got some kind of links to Old Soul. It's just a bit syrupy, a bit overproduced. Yeah, it was from the X Factor. He was a refuse collector. Before that, he was a bus driver based at Palmer's Green. I know Palmer's Green. Wow. Fascinating. So, yeah, it's not too bad. It's like all this stuff, it's a bit tainted by being on a reality TV thing. And it's just a bit overproduced, but he has got a good voice. And he seems like kind of a nice guy. So, I'll kind of give it a pass, but only just. A bus pass. Okay, McFly and I Want to Hold You. It's pretty good. As always with McFly. Are they a guilty pleasure? Should I freely admit to liking them the way I do? Oh well, yeah, I quite like it. Again, it's quite 60s-ish. I Want to Hold You. Okay, Son of Dork, Son of Dork, Ticket Out of Loserville. Well, there's a band name and a song name for you. It's kind of more kind of semi-skatery stuff. Kind of that skater punk thing. Not too bad at all, actually. Quite good. Friday Hill, better than the last one. Still a bit boy bandy, but a kind of bit semi-acoustic. That's One More Night Alone. Followed up by Cover Time, Karaoke Mode, Liberty X, and a pretty note-for-note replica of the Shalimar classic, A Night to Remember. Not ruined, but it really is Saturday night karaoke. Rihanna, If It's Lovin' That You Want, that's not too bad. Rihanna would shortly go way more commercial, but it's still quite reggae-ish, kind of dancehall-y, almost. Well, I wouldn't say reggae, but it feels quite Caribbean. So yeah, that's not too bad. Yet more karaoke with Woman in Love. It's an old Bee Gees song, I think, or they wrote it. Who sang that? Was it Barbara Streisand or someone? That's followed by another cover. A lot of karaoke covers on here. Girls Aloud and See the Day, which was an old song by DC Lee. Again, it's not really ruined, but I'm kind of sick of these pointless covers. There's no reason for them. They're just literally propping up people's careers. So there's absolutely nothing you'll get from Girls Aloud's version of See the Day that you won't get from DC Lee. Okay, Atoxeter. Ever heard of Atoxeter? It's a place in Staffordshire, and it's not very well known, but if there's one thing it is well known for, it's where they make JCBs. And if you're wondering why I mentioned that, it's because this is the JCB song. This is a very weird song indeed. Again, this appears on quite a lot of people's worst of list, but I don't really know why. It's certainly quirky, it's certainly different. I don't really know how you'd describe it. Yeah, it's about the kid whose dad drives a JCB. It's kind of known as a one-hit wonder. Yeah, and do you remember we had, back on Now 10, we had Hey Matthew with Carol Fialka sort of talking about his son. This is the other way round. It's the son talking about his father. And there's also, I don't know, get this, there's a line about a bypass, and it's the A46. And for the second time, the A46 is name checked. Well, it wasn't name checked, but it was the topic of Peter Gabriel, Salisbury Hill, which was the Bath bypass. So good old A46 certainly contributed to music history. As for the song itself, yeah, it's kind of a bit maudlin, but it's okay. So yeah, I quite like this one really. It's certainly quirky. Yeah, apparently Bob Stanley of The Guardian panned it as one of the worst #1 singles of the 2000s. You know what? I bet he liked Sugar Babes, Freak Like Me, because a lot of music journalists like it, which shows how fake they are. Sugar Babe's Freak Like Me is probably one of the worst number ones of the noughties, but you won't get any sheep saying that because they've been told to like it. But actually, if you listen to it properly with artistic ears, you'll realise it's dire. The girl can't sing it properly. This is way better, and I challenge any music critic to compare the JCB song to Freak Like Me. This is much better. Alright, Embrace, Nature's Law, they're back again. And for Embrace, it's fairly uplifting. So yeah, not bad at all. Okay, that is followed by Robbie yet again, Advertising Space. Another fairly epic kind of ballad by Robbie. He keeps putting out the songs, doesn't he? Literally, almost every single now's got a Robbie song since... Well, if you include Take That, since Now 22. So, all in all, that's like 39 nows. He's maybe not been on about 5 in that time. He's probably been on 90% of them. Okay, next up is Coldplay, and they're back with Talk, and it's, again, I'll say relatively speaking, relatively up-tempo for them. It's still kind of semi-balladier. Did Coldplay ever do anything that was really up-tempo? But I like it. Yeah, no complaints. Okay, now here's a band who are really making a comeback. It's Aha, and I'm just trying to think the last time they were on one of these. It's Analog by Aha, and it's been a hell of a long time since they were on a Now. I make it... was Crying in the Rain. No, that wasn't on one. God almighty, it must be... maybe even Manhattan Skyline. Way back on Now 9? Can that really be the last time Aha have made a Now? That's incredible. Wow. Anyway, welcome back. It's Analog. And it's kind of a bit of a different sound from where they left off in the 80s. But it's great. It's got the classic Morton vocals. Obviously, they've grown up a bit by this point. But it's a really, really nice song, actually. Very good indeed. Always nice to have them back. Followed up by some guys who sound a bit like them, actually. And that's The Feeling and Zone. And this is their first appearance. More on a kind of easy listening side of guitar pop. I wouldn't really call it indie. But it's okay. It's pretty good. Richard Ashcroft's back with his best song for ages, Break the Night with Colour. He's been a consistently good voice, actually, and including the verve and his solo stuff, he's not really put a foot wrong. I've liked everything he's done. Sleep by Texas, featuring a vocalist in the Blue Nile, actually. He's an uncredited guest vocalist. Very, very good song indeed. Texas are back to form, so good to have them back. And Kaiser Chiefs with Modern Way, much better lead song than the Corinne Bailey Ray one. And yeah, it's not quite as good as I predicted, right? Nowhere near as big, but it's pretty good. U2, All Because of You, that's another kind of 80s throwback band, but unlike Aha, they never really had a comeback because they never really went away. I think this is the album that was given away free with iPods. I said that last time, so maybe a bit tainted because of that. But not a bad song. Okay, Fall Out Boy make their first appearance with Sugar, We're Going Down. Pretty good song, actually. I like that one. That's another one that's in that kind of... I don't know if you call it emo, but it's post-skater. I'm just going to see how they are officially designated in terms of music, Fall Out Boy. Pop punk, pop rock, pop alternative rock, emo pop. Yeah, emo. So, could it be the first actual genuine emo track on a Now? I don't know. What do you think? Sugar, We're Going Down. Okay, one of the best songs on the album so far. It's Ride a White Horse by Goldfrapp. It's more kind of electronica. Not quite as kind of glammy as the last one, Ooh La La. More 80s sounding in a way. Very bleepy, a bit like Erasure or someone. but it's a really, really good song. Followed up by another really good one, Gorillaz, Dirty Harry. Again, they've not really put a foot wrong. Every song they've done's been sort of different and distinct, and this is well up to standard. It's kind of mid-paced, got a bit of rap on it. So yeah, way better than MVP, which is the most middle-of-the-road song I've ever heard. Middle-of-the-road R&B, hip-hop stuff. Well, not really hip-hop. Just because someone raps doesn't make it hip-hop. Bounce, shake, move, stop. Yeah, whatever. I'll Be Ready's even worse. That's Sunblock. That is just dire, banal, house by numbers. It uses Baywatch music, and it's got loads of scantily clad women in the videos. So it's just kind of cheap and crass, really. That's Sunblock, I'll Be Ready. Shapeshifter's incredible. That's okay, but it's kind of third single syndrome. Now, the third time on her now, it's You Got the Love by Candy Staton and The Source. It's actually the same remix that appeared on the 97 one. The song first appeared on Now 19, the original and best. No, not even the original. The original was from 86, but the Frankie Knuckles mashup one. Then there was the 97 remix, and it's the 97 remix that's back here. You Got the Love. More kind of post-Coldplay stuff now. This is Cub and Grow. They didn't really do a lot Cub, did they? But this song's quite nice. It's hardly had any views whatsoever. I don't know if this is the official video. I don't think it is, because it only had 4,000 views. Let's just see how many of the official videos had. But yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. If anything, like a lot of songs on this album, the defining characteristic of this album is that it's syrupy. It's quite a syrupy album. It's nowhere near as good as the last three. It's a bit of a come down, really. But it's not too bad. Finally, as if to epitomise everything about this whole album, it's Jose Gonzalez's version of Heartbeats. And I think that kind of epitomises what I just said about syrupy. It's a great song by The Knife. Brilliant, brilliant song from about 2002. And their Swedish band, if you didn't know that. Despite his Hispanic-sounding name, Jose Gonzalez actually grew up in Sweden. I think it's kind of Swedish come Argentinian. And he's ruined the song, really. He's made it acoustic, which is kind of a brave experiment. An acoustic experiment. I've just made up a word. An acoustement. He's done an acoustement of Heartbeats. An acoustic experiment. But the electronics are what made that what it was. It's kind of the reverse to Salisbury Hill. I was talking about that earlier. The A46. You know when Erasure did Salisbury Hill, and they took a very kind of folky song and made it electronic, and they ruined it. Well, I think Jose Gonzalez has done the same with Heartbeats. He stripped out the electronics, which is what really gave that song its groove, and what's in its place is just meh. So it's a good emblem for this album. Too syrupy by half. If we go through the songs, the absolute classics, not Put Your Records On. It's nothing. No one's ever heard of that nowadays. It's only 14 years ago. My Humps is kind of legendary in music critic circles as being literally one of the worst songs ever. So it's got a kind of infamy. Awesome, vaguely, but again it's still quite reviled. Boys Will Be Boys, Ordinary Boys, I think that was fairly big. I think Thunder in My Heart, again, is widely seen as a remix that's better than the original. That's Meg and Leo Sayer. Say 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 was a middling club hit. You Spin Me Round was a classic 80s song, but it was classic in the 80s. Chico Time, maybe in a kind of kitsch, ironic way. Then there's a load of nothing. Really nothing. A Night to Remember's a cover of a classic. Woman in Love's a cover of a classic. The JCB song's kind of quirky, and some people hate it. But as I say, the people who hate JCB song probably like Freak Like Me by Sugar Babes, so what do they know? Even people like Robbie and Coldplay, these aren't them classic songs. Aha, Analog, it's not a classic, but it's okay. None of these are classics. They're okay, but there's really very few classics. Maybe to a certain extent Ride a White Horse by Goldfrapp, but nowhere near like Oh La La. Dirty Harry by Gorillaz, possibly. You Got the Love was a classic anyway, and it's not the best mix of it. and Heartbeats is a lame cover of a classic, kind of indie alternative classic. So pretty disappointing album this. It's very little of real lasting importance. But that said, there was quite a lot of sort of nice songs. There's not that many really bad ones. I'll give it 6 out of 10, but bearing in mind the last 3 were 8 or 9 out of 10. It's a bit of a come down, really. Yeah, a bit disappointing. I hope now 64 is better. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.